So you've just heard Paul Bazely's favourite sounds. Now I'm going to move around from the ears to the eyes, and your next category is sight. And the first thing that I am going to choose, I think I have to choose this because I think it's, I don't know if it's your number one choice, but I think it's an important choice, which is your wife's blue eyes.
Yes, I mean, it was the first thing that came to me when I thought of this, because obviously faces are, we're all programmed to love faces as human beings. And I've always had a thing for blue eyes. Maybe it's because I've got very dark eyes. I don't know why. But um, my wife's blue eyes, obviously, I was particularly attracted to. And what's interesting about people's eyes, as we get older, as we are doing, Colin, I realized that people's faces change, but the eyes hold that magic of whatever is there, and actually it enhances as age goes by. So there's a wisdom, sometimes there's a sadness, there's a humor. And we've been together. We had our wedding anniversary the other day. We got married 23 years ago, and we've been together 28 years now. And I still look at her face, and sometimes her eyes catch me by surprise, because it's just like, it's all there. You know, they say they're the windows to the soul. So, yeah, this, it's like I never tire of them. And, you know, they have that lovely phrase, don't they? Search someone's eyes. And I love that phrase, because it's like, there's something about someone else's eyes where you can maybe think that you're going to find the truth, whatever that is. And yeah, so I haven't got bored of them yet in 28 years.
Wow, that's very cool. Well, and if she sees this, I hope you're getting extra brownie points for this one.
She'll probably go, soppy idiot.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, you probably will actually. So moving on from your wife's blue eyes, which are, yeah, right, they are very lovely. We go from blue to green and blue, and this choice is a green tree against a blue sky.
So there's a story to this. And it still is with me to this very day. I did physics, maths, and economics A levels between 16 and 18, and they were the completely wrong choices for me. But as a good, you know, Indian immigrant boy, I thought I should go and do computer science at university. So I chose physics, maths, and economics. And I realized pretty much as soon as I started that I'd hit my ceiling in terms of my understanding of maths and physics, and I'd been good at it at high school, but I just hit the limits of what I could do. So I was struggling, and I remember I used to sit just so bored in my maths class, and there was a small window at the top of this classroom. You couldn't see out, you could see up. And in the summer, well, or just on blue sky days, there was this little row of trees. So all I could see was trees against the blue sky. And I remember I used to stare out of this window, not working. And I remember thinking at the age of about 17, it's a sunlit green tree. So when the golden sunlight is hitting a green, not on a grey day, a sunlit day, is hitting a green tree, and it's, you know, surrounded by the blue sky. I remember just thinking, that is the most pleasing arrangement of colors that there could ever be. And I've always been a bit of a hippie, but I wasn't really that knowledgeable about plants or gardening or anything at the time. But I just remember thinking, I want to be there. I don't want to be here. And ever since, one of the reasons I became an actor, I suppose, is because I thought I've got to follow my passions and my bliss, because this classroom is bad for me. And ever since, when I'm outside and I see a green tree against the blue sky, I think, oh, I made it. I made it to the thing that I wanted to do. And often I'm outside, you know, and I made it to being able to enjoy those trees and the blue sky, rather than sitting in somewhere that's not suited to me, looking out and wishing I was somewhere else. Because I think that's a real sadness in life, if you're wishing you're somewhere else or doing something else. And most of the time, you know, I often say to people, what would you do if money was no object? And people often go, oh, well, I'd do this, I'd be an artist, or I'd work for the community, or I'd be a farmer. And if you ask me that question, I'd say pretty much what I'm doing now, just the same. So I feel blessed and lucky, and it's all about trying to be out there with the green tree and the blue sky rather than being in a maths class.
And where do you think you got that, not gumption, but that insight at quite a young age into that? Where do you think that comes from?
I think it was blind ignorance of the odds, because my dad was like, you've got better get a degree to fall back on, and you'll never get anywhere as an actor. And he was really worried for me, and he didn't try and stop me, but they were full of fear, and he'd come from a very poor background in India, and for him survival was the most important thing. um, and I just was ignorant of that. I think the beautiful ignorance of youth, just going, no, I'm going to do that actually. And if you thought about the odds, you'd never do it.
Mm.
You've got to just think that you just, Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, and I just think that's it. Just that's why I say to my kids, I said, just follow that and somehow it will work out.
And the irony is, your son is doing.
Physics with a lot of maths in it. That's his degree. He loves it. And what I love is that he hasn't hit his ceiling yet. So he is still flying high in the world of physics doing his degree. And he comes home and talks to me about it. And I still love it actually, but I just don't understand it.
Yeah, that's like me with most conversations with most people. I think I like them, I don't always understand them.
Yeah.
And then your third choice, which is very sweet, is the sight of your garden.
Yes, I live in a little terraced house in Brighton, and we've got a very small garden. It's about 50 foot long, so it's not big, but I love it so much. And I've spent 18 years living there now since Dan was born, and I've worked really, really, really hard on it, and I've learned how to be a gardener basically through trial and error. And I've grown lots of things, and a lot of things have died, and some things have stayed and lived and thrived. And every day of the year, I will sit, my dining table looks out over it. So every day of the year, if I'm eating on my own, like lunch or something, I will literally just look at it for ages and think, oh, there's that thing's come up, or oh, that thing's died, or oh, I should cut that. And it's just endlessly fascinating to me. And I don't know what I'd do if I had a big garden. I don't think I could cope with it, because 50 feet keeps me very occupied. But I just love it. I love it, even when it's looking scruffy, or whenever there's a drought and everything's died, or in the middle of winter when most things are dead, but there's still things happening, or there's a little bird sitting on a tree, or it's just yeah. And it's made me really, really appreciate the incredible power of nature, and the way nature can just take over a space, and that we forget about in our urban lives.
And do you still have a wormery?
Well, my wormery, I've spent a lot of, first had a wormery when we lived in a flat in London, and that was a huge mistake, because the worms escaped into our kitchen. My 28-year relationship with my wife nearly ended about a year in, when she discovered the worms on the floor, and so that was banned. And then when we got a garden, I got another wormery. And yeah, I love the wormery, and it's really good for making compost and everything. But last year, I foolishly positioned it in a place that was in full sunlight, and the worms didn't make it through the heat wave that we had. So I now need to find another place for the wormery, but my garden's so small, I don't know. But in essence, I love wormeries, but currently I don't have one.
Right, and you're very big on that. You're very big on ecology and.
Oh yeah, Greenpeace was the first organization I ever joined at 17. I don't know why. I was such an urban kid. We literally had no nature. We had a little yard with nothing in it. But I've always sort of been a bit obsessed with it. I don't know why. And maybe because we lacked it. I don't know. But I sort of dream that. I think sort of one day maybe I'll be living on a little permaculture farm. I sort of hope I am one day, but I don't know. It's something I'm not very expert at, but currently I'm listening to quite a lot of podcasts on regenerative agriculture, and people go, "You're listening to what?" I find it fascinating. I think it's just an extraordinary thing, and it's kind of the answer as well to all our troubles. So just just go, not thinking we have to fight nature all the time.
Mm. So your three choices, just to recap for people at home, are your garden, with or without the wormery, the green tree against the blue sky, and whatever that
Sunlit,
means to you.
sunlit greens tree.
Oh yes, yes, sunlit green tree against the sky, very important. And of course, your wife's blue eyes. Now, one of those is Paul's number one favorite. You may think you know which it is, but Paul will tell you later which it is.